Hello and welcome, dear students. Today we are going to discuss communication approach of Karl Deutsch. The objectives of this lecture will be to understand the science of cybernetics, that is at the base of Karl Deutsch's communication approach, to analyze the communication approach and its various components, to understand the major characteristics of communication approach, to critically evaluate Karl Deutsch's communication approach. Now let's first discuss what this approach is all about. The communication analysis is chiefly attributed to the formulation of Karl Deutsch. He developed the communication framework for political analysis in his book Nerves of Government. Like David Easton, he also believed that the difference between the behavior of living things and that of social organizations have greatly narrowed down because of the new development in the communication science. Both Easton and Deutsch regarded communication or cybernetics models as contributing to a linking of science of living things to self-regulating machines and social systems. All the systems involved can be seen as networks of connected parts, the patterns of the network being, in fact, patterns of information flows. As a derivative of system theory, the communication approach of Deutsch views cybernetics as the science of communication and control. It focuses on the systematic study of communication and control in organizations of all kinds. It suggests that all organizations are alike in certain fundamental ways and that every organization is held together by communication. Deutsch's cybernetics approach viewed governments as organizations where information processes are communicated through channels. Information, according to cybernetics, is a patterned relationship between events. Communication means the transfer of such patterned relations, and channels are the paths through which information is transferred. Deutsch rightly says that his book, The Nerves of Government, deals less with the bones or muscles of the body politic and more with its nerves, its channels of communication. The political system, according to Deutsch, is nothing but a system of decision making and enforcement as a network of communication channels, drawing largely from the science of neurophysiology, psychology, and electrical engineering. Deutsch perceived the similarities in processes and functional requirements between living things, electronic machines, and social organizations. According to him, organizations in the society have the capacity to transmit and react to information. Before going to discuss the main model of Deutsch and its essential components, it's pertinent to have a brief impression of the science of cybernetics. So first, which is at the base of this model? The science of cybernetics. Now, according to Deutsch, the science of communication and control, which has been derived from technology and which Norbert Wiener has called cybernetics, is therefore a new science about an old subject. Cybernetics the systematic study of communication and control in organizations of all kinds is a conceptual scheme on the great scale. Essentially, it represents a shift in the center of interest from drives to steering, from instincts to system of decisions, regulation and control, including the non-cyclical aspects of such systems. It's perhaps safe to say that social science is already being influenced by the interests implicit in cybernetics. Norbert Wiener is the chief exponent of the cybernetics theory. He was quite aware of its importance and relevance in social science. Social science does not believe that a society is an agglomeration of distinct social groups. Rather, there are numerous social groups in any pluralistic society, and they are closely connected and related with each other. And because of this factor, all the social groups think and act together. Again, this togetherness is connected by a system of communication. The science of cybernetics studies this. Following Wiener and Deutsch, Westby has defined cybernetics in the following words, and I quote, "Cybernetics is a theory of information, self-regulating machines, computers, and the physiology of nervous system. An important concept of cybernetics is that of a machine which recognizes stimuli, learns, adjusts itself automatically upon receiving feedback about its performance and moves through a determined number of possible states." Unquote. From this definition, we can easily bring out certain aspects of cybernetics. For example, it can be compared easily with the nervous system. It possesses a self-regulating machine, which means it does not produce desirable consequences or does not go astray. Cybernetics is a very improved system because it adjusts itself automatically. Again, the cybernetics is characterized by feedback mechanism, implying that inputs are converted into outputs, and again the outputs are converted into inputs. In this way, the system of cybernetics operates. The communication passes through channels, and if any one channel is blocked, the flow of communication is affected. The viewpoint of cybernetics suggests that all organizations are alike in certain fundamental characteristics, and that every organization is held together by communication. So, communication is a process different from transportation on the one hand and from power engineering on the other. Now, dear students, let us focus upon the central concepts, or you can say the components of Deutsch's communication approach. Now, in his analysis of cybernetics or communication theory, Karl Deutsch has used certain key concepts. Like Easton, he has applied feedback mechanism in his theory. According to Wiener, feedback is a type of control of a machine on the basis of actual performance rather than its expected performance. I quote, by feedback, or as it is often called, a servo mechanism, is meant a communications network that produces action in response to an input of information and includes the results of its own action in the information by which it modifies its subsequent behavior. Unquote. The feedback mechanism, according to Deutsch, is a very crucial stage of political system. Information originates in other systems or in the environment, and then it's transmitted through several channels. Information is again converted into decision, and this again is transmitted to other places or system. Information is also related with decision. Other systems or structures of the political system come to know that the authority has responded to the information it received from systems or subsystems. Deutsch further maintains that all the organizations of a political system come under the operation of feedback. From the analysis of Deutsch, we come to know that the feedback process has introduced a type of dynamism in political system. If there were no feedback mechanism, the information could not travel from one stage or agency to another. The information or news is communicated from one agency to another, and in this way both feedback mechanism and communication jointly work, and this in turn underscore the dynamic nature of the political system. We thus witness the chain of action and reaction. Information originates, it is transmitted through communication. Decision is adopted and it is again transmitted to other places. From Deutsch's analysis, we come across another concept, and it is negative feedback. It can be defined in the way he has defined, and I quote him, a negative feedback system is one which transmits back to itself the information which is the result of decision and actions taken by the system, and which leads the system to change its behavior in pursuit of the goals which it has set itself. Unquote. Two other important terms used by Deutsch may be discussed here. One is load and the other is lag. The concept of load may be explained as it means the total amount of information possessed or collected by the political system at a particular point of time. At some crucial juncture of time, the load of information may be quite high, but the political system or any other system is not always loaded or overloaded. The quantum of information may be quite small, and this does not put excessive pressure on the system. Lag, which is another term which is required to be clarified. So, first of all, the information is communicated to the authority and after receiving the information and taking into consideration of other factors, the authority takes a decision. In between the recipient of information and adoption of decision, there is a lag or delay. If the feedback mechanism completes the operation within normal time, the question of lag does not arise. But if there is delay, we call it lag. In practice, it has been found that the gap between the receipt of information and follow-up action, there is lag or delay, in spite of the normal functioning of feedback. There is also the term lead used by Deutsch. It denotes the ability of the political system to act promptly in response to the predictions about the future consequences of any decision taken by it. If the communication system is an improved one and the channels communicating news or information are active, it would be quite easy for the system to act promptly. It indicates the high degree of ability of the political system. Deutsch also uses some other terms such as overload, ability, etc. Now, overload is defined as a situation when the volume of information is extreme, that the channel carrying this is not capable of shouldering the burden, or it may be that due to the backwardness, the channels are not able to bear the burden of information. The authority of the political system must have ability to cope with the volume of information and to translate it into reality. Deutsch's communication theory can work in an open system because only in such a system the agencies can function freely and the inflow or outflow of information takes place without any hindrance or trouble. In fact, Deutsch's communication theory and Easton's general system theory come within the same category. Both envisages an open system. Now, dear students, let's discuss important characteristics of Deutsch's model. Some of the most important features of Deutsch's communication model are: first one is that there is an inflow or outflow of information, or you can say news, from one end to another or vice versa. It's not automatic. There is a specific role of human beings. This we may call steering and coordinating process or role. In any political system, there are many channels through which information is transmitted, but there is coordination and cooperation among the channels, which is manned or managed by human beings. Without human efforts, the information could not be communicated from one end to another, or it could never reach destination. Deutsch has assumed that since human efforts are behind the communication of news and information. It has been found that the meaning and context of the information or news undergo changes, and this is inevitable. Here lies a major difference between the communications as it prevails in business organizations and in political system. In the business organizations, the news, decision, information are communicated from one stage to another in writing or in clear forms, so that any sort of ambiguity cannot crop up. But in political system, information, news originate in other system and also environment, and then these are transmitted to other places. In this process, the information may also be lost. A very important aspect of Deutsch's communication theory is he has undervalued the importance of power. Davies and Lewis have stated the matter in this way, and I quote, "It is one of the concerns of Deutsch to reduce the importance of power as a component of continuing political activity." Unquote. Deutsch does not believe that power or the application of physical force is the exclusive determinant of political affairs. There is a clear difference between the approaches to politics in general sense and Deutsch's approach to politics. Deutsch is one of opinion that the social goals are to be achieved through coordination and cooperation among people of society, which is affected by communication. The cooperation is mainly guided by voluntary efforts and general attitude. There is hardly any place of the application of force. But on the other hand, the non-Deutschian or general approach believes that social goals are attained by means of application of force. The authority of the political system takes decisions, and these are implemented by means of force. Deutsch has drawn our attention to another aspect of his communication theory. In every political system, authority adopts decision, but Deutsch is of opinion that habit concurrence with the activities of the system play a very vital role in the implementation of decision. This habit grows and develops through time. People form habit with the help of information which they garner from the communication system of state. An able and effective communication system is really the inner force or power of the political system. The powerful communication system maintains the inner connection and good relation among all the agencies and segments of the system. Political system is endowed with self-regulating mechanism. Numerous forces or elements make their presence in the political systems, and they frequently challenge the political system. But since it has self-regulating mechanism, ultimately it succeeds in checking or controlling the forces or their undesirable effects. Because of this self-regulating system, the system is able to maintain stability or equilibrium. Easton elaborately dealt with this property of the political system. What Karl Deutsch adds is that this self-regulatory mechanism works successfully because of the communication system. The communication system ensures and strengthens the cooperation or coordination among the agencies of the political system. There are many vehicles which carry information. Some of them are political parties, interest groups, pressure groups, various organizations. The groups, parties and organizations enjoy freedom and work as medium between people and the government, and in this way they all maintain their relationship with the agencies and government. If any conflict emerges, parties, groups and organizations try to settle it amicably. Thus, the conflict or contradiction cannot lead to destabilization. This interpretation of Deutsch makes a room for a theory of social change. He never says that stability of political system means halt of change. Stability means political system cannot be changed to satisfy the whims of certain persons. Political system will continue along with it the change. Now, dear students, let's do a critical evaluation of it. So, Deutsch's model has received lot of criticism. Now, let's discuss some of the important points of criticism against Deutsch's model. One important shortcoming of the communication theory is it speaks a lot about the inflow and outflow of information. He believes that the inflow or outflow determine the process of decision making, but the real situation teaches us different thing. Decision making, of course, depends on information, but at the same time more on the nature of information. Deutsch appears to us to be cautious and meticulous about the inflow and outflow of information, but he should have been cautious about the nature of information. By making this mistake, Deutsch makes his hypothesis incomplete. Deutsch admits that power is a component of political activity, but unfortunately, he has reduced its importance by declaring that power is, and I quote, neither the center nor the essence of politics, unquote. In reply to this observation, it can be humbly submitted that this is not relevant in contemporary politics. In any modern political system, power always play an important and active role. Cybernetics is a subject of engineering, but it has been applied by Deutsch in system analysis or political science. Engineering and political science are two different disciplines, and there are polar differences so far as content is concerned between the two subjects. Cybernetics in its mechanistic form cannot have effectiveness in political science. Human behavior, attitude of people, incidents of political system, and occurrence of environment do not move and act mechanistically. One can explain the operative aspect of the communication network in the background of social science in general and political science in particular. But the critics are of opinion that the transfer of subject of this category is not desirable. Deutsch claims that communication theory is a model. What is model? The model is generally a representation of something, usually in a smaller scale. It is also defined as a theoretical representation of empirical data that aims at advanced understanding. If model is the representation of something in a smaller scale, it is supposed that it should be simple and easily understandable. But Deutsch's communication theory is not simple at all, but highly complex. In the proper functioning of the model is also apprehending. In engineering, the performance of cybernetics is satisfactory because the inanimate objects work mechanically, but the structures or agencies of political system consist of human beings and they cannot work mechanically. Social, political, economic and myriad other issues and problems influence and guide human behavior. Deutsch has failed to consider this aspect. Interference of human being will not allow the channels through which information passes to function independently. The communication theory cannot claim to be impartial. It is vitiated by anti-Marxist notion. The core idea of Marxism is the social change through class struggle, and it further believes that in a capitalist society there is no possibility of emancipation of common people. Hence, the only way is to intensify the class struggle and to seize the political power by means of revolution. The theory is based on rationality and formality of the structures, which means that the structures and agencies do their allotted duties, and this performance is based on the concepts of rationality. The theory assumes that the structures do not violate the principle of rationality, but in reality the performance of the structure depends not always upon rationality. Dear students, now let's conclude our topic. Communication approach is also known as the cybernetic study of political system. Cybernetic is the systematic study of communication and control. it makes a powerful analogy between the computer, individual and the society. It seeks to build one model principle to describe and explain them all. The central phenomena it dwells upon is the process of communication, that is, the ability to transmit messages, the qualities of information and the ability to react them. The communication theory was propounded by Karl Deutsch in his work, that is, The Nerves of Government, which he published in 1963. So, it is an attempt to use the concepts and methods of science of cybernetics for explaining the survival and the growth of political system and to predict the consequences of changes in the structure of the political system. He tries to reduce the importance of the concept of power and wants to prove that the political system is an organization concerned with attainment of social goals. Deutsch is of the view that the government is a decision-making system. The enforcement of these decisions depend not merely on force, but more importantly on the fact that man is socially addicted to complain with the decisions of those who in power. That is, government decisions are carried on more due to habit. A political system survives and develops at least habit forming and other activities that go with it, the acquiring of information, the selection and storage of this information, the selection and development of norms relating to the use of information. The growth of political system depends on the capacity of its communication mechanism, the capacity of its communication channels and its ability to select, screen and to learn can vitally affect the political system's response. Thus, communication theory is a method of analyzing political problems based on the assumptions that political system as a mechanism which receives, select, decides on and communicate information. However, Deutsch's cybernetics model has numerous drawbacks. It is essentially an engineering approach which explains the performance of human beings and living in institutions as if they are machines. The cybernetics is also quantity oriented rather than quality oriented, which makes the understanding of political phenomena complex. But as a derivative of the system's approach, cybernetics contributed its bit in explaining political phenomena concerning human behavior. In this sense, cybernetics model has indeed expanded our effort in understanding the political system. To end the discussion here, I hope, dear students, you would have enjoyed the lecture on one of the significant approaches to comparative politics developed by Karl Deutsch. Thank you and have a nice day.